just a really quick check-in today with you. Basically, I'm looking at my boost on my RPM gauge. You can see my boost, you can see the RPM gauge down there to the right. In the middle, there is a boost gauge. I realised that when I'm below 5,000 RPM at half throttle, I literally might as well be at zero boost, and then zero boost at half throttle. But the boost settings cannot be changed. Now, I know for a fact, because I had a friend who bought a ex-Fire Chiefs car. Postman. Sorry about that, dog's barking for the postman. Wait till he finishes, because I can't tell him off. Because you shout at him, it makes it worse apparently. You have to ignore him and then reward him when he shuts up. It's mad, isn't it? Right, anyway. Give him a minute. We have to... Right, anyway. We'll get back to the conversation in a second. If he shuts up. Yes! Right. So basically, car's at half throttle. But anyway, as I was saying, there was somebody who bought a car from a auction. And he bought a car and bought a, is it a Fire Chiefs car or something like that? And the car was set up on a long drive along the motorway. So his car was his boost wouldn't kick in until around 3,500 to 4,000 RPM. That's where his boost would kick in. I don't know where his throttle position was, but he's trying to go 70, so I'm guessing it would be probably like a quarter throttle, quarter to half throttle. But on this computer game, we don't get no boost until one bar of pressure, I think. And we have negative boost at 4,000. Positive comes in at 4,500. 5,000. 5,000 RPM. If we shift down first, there's still negative pressure. Now there's boost. So I'll drop the pressure as well. Anyway, I don't know how turbo works, but I just thought I'd, because I've not seen one with my own hands. But I just thought that once the car goes up to a certain RPM, the fan torque starts spinning and boosting in. But I'm guessing it's electric. Right, okay. So now, if you notice, when I drive, I have to keep the power on the RPM of the throttle as much through these bends as I can. At 5,500, 6,000 RPM, so I'm not have the power to go below. But another question, the other reason for this conversation, well, it's not even this conversation, it's literally talking, well, is, now if this car, the car that I'm driving, is a Honda XS, and I really did like this car, it's the first car that I really passed that car. And basically, this car can go, I can't remember the CC size. I mean, fifth gear, doing 150 there, 156. And anybody who's ever known me, seen any of my early videos, knows that I used to play around with little one-cylinder engines. And it started to baffle me. this car only revs, tops out on its RPM gauge at 7,775 RPM. Right? Tops out at probably around 9,225 or 9,200, 9,100, something like that, because it only goes up to 9,000 there, obviously. But sometimes they break the gauge and it goes to 9,500. But the issue with this is you can get nearly 200 miles per hour out of this car at 8,000 RPM. Look at speed. 200 miles per hour on 8,000 RPM. Now I was sitting there thinking, well, how do I get a 50cc, 70cc, 90cc cubic square CCM power and make the car and make the engine sit at that peak power RPM? I spent such a long time trying to do these things to little scooter engines, because why not? It just baffles me. Like, the complete mystery of it, wanted to find out how, why, and why not. Does that make sense? Like, why it wouldn't work and why it wouldn't. I achieved it as close as I could with two different bikes. I never got the top speed I wanted out of one bike, which was a vertical two-stroke speed fighter and a 50cc. And I ended up on a tachometer while I was looking at the gauges, changing the clutch springs and everything else. I'm crashing changing the clutch springs and everything else. The changing the clutch springs. So this is where the standard one would be, is just at around 1,000 RPM, which would be the standard springs. So at 1,000 RPM, this would happen. Nothing. And then I put the 3,000 RPM springs in. Well, you've got 2,500 springs. And that would happen. I'm expecting the car to work. So I'd start wheel spinning off the line. But the engines are wheel spin, just don't have the power to do it. Then the 3,000 RPM springs are a little bit different. The engine revving too much, the clutch won't even engage, and all of a sudden the only problem is, I couldn't get no top speed out of it. So it's 50cc. The bike was quite heavy anyway. I would get that. With an Aircell 70cc kit, aluminium top. Change the rollers, change the clutch, but in the end they ended up selling the bike for I got the bike to standard variator kit, Aircell, and brought it out carbon package. It looked really nice. It was really set up in place. It didn't have no red bull bars. Coso top.
splicing it, unfortunately, quite really still got these ones, very good ones, but I realised that I really got a new set of things. Out for a ride, the engine sounded so I had a little bit of problem with the jet because the ID jet and ID jet and stuff like so when it started off the engine cold, the engine flying up, but then it was still really easy. I was coming through town with tunnel blasting with my overland vehicles. As soon as I had an overland vehicles, changed the whole gearbox. So it was I spent days just getting the bearings and getting rollers. Just to develop this end up not work on the put the line up. Used to run around 8 miles away from me. Parts of the night, went into the shop, got a drink. No, actually, I went to the tunnel blasting, and the tunnel was at this stage 6, over at stage 6, and it's supposed to have a race. It was like in a street race, but it was a street race. We kind of closed in the race at the stage. And he was the Tiger Speed Car. Standard bike for top out of 55. The other thing was 45. There's the bike top out 55. There's 2 stroke. Beating. The only reason I'm beating is because straight to get the bike up to 65. So because you can get the bike to 65 miles per hour, beating. There's also just in turns with that signal stuff. Beating on the exhaust. The exhaust didn't put his bike on the stage 6 put all these things on it sounded good. Then all of a sudden the power just started going on. And what had happened is the 40 km load then floats and stuff. The sensor allowed us to stop the I do it because of exhaust, so you can send a 2-stroke engine to the Lambretta or anything like that. If you look where I live, it's quite far away, but if you've got a transport to it, it's fine. The builder was the first time I tested, and he said, once you get lights in there, you get lights down to 60 volt. Work was quite good. And then I got the bike, and anyway, you can tell me the engine started bogging down. And as the engine started bogging down, what was going on? Parts of the last year. I don't know I don't know if the power went up, and so big or the sensor disturbed it. took you when it's sold by it's an less. Because I bought some of it. That was very right. I bought some of the accessory centre. To get some stuff so I can get a bus to get this town so get the sold by then I was told by people that know what the board and racing is that do these race plans that better run. But financial money pit though, tuning vehicles turns into because you upset one thing, you upset the whole you change the idle jet to the main jet. Even if everybody changes the time changes the cylinder racing. Then you've got the variants of rolling things when you're expecting change the rolling things, change the balance. Go down the bottom of Greenwich Drive. That's the one down. Oh, Boom Aesthetics. I'll have a look. This is the amount of power you can get. What engine have we got? Optimal lap would have been a 1:39.214. I've got all my sector times together. Let's have a look at the car itself. I've got 693 brake horsepower. Mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, just like a scooter engine. But the amount of torque and weight doesn't say. I think it's a V. Is it a V6? It's got to be a V6, isn't it? Well, that's because it's a V6 engine, probably. It's definitely not a V8, and definitely not a flat 4, but it's a V6 engine. But ideally, that's what would have to happen, like to build the engine. Now, I've seen online there are some Malossi Delta cases. Okay, now she's changed her mind. Now she's saying she can. Now she's saying she'll push through it. So she's asking for a little bit of sympathy while you do her hair, basically. But the thing is, I don't want her to be too ill to mess it up. Do you know what I mean?
What time?
She said this afternoon. So I'm going to message her anyway and sort the time out. But I'm going to ask her if she doesn't feel up to it. I just don't want her to mess it up. Are you sure she's well enough to do her hair? Does that make sense?
You don't have to rush.
Yeah, I know she don't.
So I'm not off. It's too complicated. Do you want a broom making?
Yeah.
No, we wanted it wanted it done yesterday.
Yeah.
We only agreed today.
Basically, I've just said to her, are you going to be well enough to do the hair the way she wants? I'm not being funny, Tammy, but even if she's unwell, I know she's unwell, I know sometimes, oh, it's okay, you was unwell, you missed this or knackered that up. No excuses. She should have turned around and said, no, she can't do your hair. If she can't be confident, if there's no other hairdresser. I just don't want you to go in there, because you said you're worried, because you said you don't trust them. I don't want you to go in there.
I want to give her the benefit of the doubt.
I know that she's not very well, but I don't want you to go in there, go get your hair done. Oh crap, hang on, wait, I'm still on. Yeah, I know, it's just, I know, but you said, like, you know, you're a bit sceptical about them.
Well, I'm only thinking because, well,
But that's why I said
the
to you,
show
we can go
starts around
elsewhere.
7 if we're seeing Jericho.
You should be. Right, anyway, I need to get back to this thing. It's just, no, what I'm trying to get at is
no hairdresser is perfect, but as long as your colour's right in your hair, the tone is right in the hair, the way that the hair falls and flows and stuff like that, it might not be to the exact picture of what you want, but it'll be really close, as long as it resembles what you're looking for. But if it doesn't, and it doesn't feel comfortable on your head after you've had your hair done, then, and it's, say for example you turn around and say to her like, put that, I want this bit trimming back, but then she takes a big chunk out of it. Like I've been to the hairdressers before, and they do the back of my hair, and what they do is at the back is they've took a big square out of it, and I've stood there and gone, yeah, okay, then I'll still pay for my hair even though I've got a big square missing out the back of my head, so when I'm walking down the street people laugh or whatever, because I know you was bullied, I know you've had this kind of crap going on, so that's the reason why I just want to make sure she can. Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, I know it is. Do you know what? Just a freaking hairdresser. Anyone would think there was like some big drug cartel or something. It's just a hairdresser. Do you know what I mean? The way she goes on, I mean, she's lived around here for years, but she's like, oh, I don't trust them and this, that, and the other. Anyone would think she was a freaking, I don't know. Apologise for my smoking. You see why I smoke now. That kind of silly stuff stresses me out. But I don't know why she's worried. It's just a freaking hairdresser. No, she don't trust a hairdresser. I'm not why. They're just hairdressers. They have to do a professional job regardless. Well, they should do. But anyway, that's pretty much the talk of the NRG MC3 engine. I do have a Piaggio Zip project engine that I did start building with a stage 6 top end on it for my son's birthday. In the end, I left it so long to start building the engine that I didn't get it done in time for my lad's birthday. So I left it for such a long time, and what broke it and what stopped the process of building the engine was I needed to go to court one day for a breach of probation, even though I didn't breach, and I had to sell my DeWalt drill. And I put it in town, I put it in the cash flow shops, and then I went to go buy it back on the day it was due to run out. I put my hand in my trouser pocket where I left the paperwork, and I went, and it wasn't there, which means I couldn't buy my DeWalt XR drill back. Brand new as well, in a stackable case. It was on sale at Tool Station for £99. Couldn't believe it. I needed to buy some credit for my phone to go to contact my solicitor before we got to court. Anyway, yeah, and I know I needed to drill out a snapped bolt that I tightened up a bit too tight, which was a bit breadlock, and I put the bearing in the crank, so I was going to use a stock crank, a sports head. I just kind of like make it like the sports version with a switch where you can press the button and it de-restricts the CDI and you get a few more revs out of it. You probably get about 3.5 power extra or a little bit more acceleration, but nothing major, does that make sense? And then when you press the button it lights up the pops on the dash and it changes quite a lot. And then like put a USB charger on there, and then under the seat goes to a USB power converter or like a power bank you can charge up the battery in the second circuit into the battery, and then obviously power his devices or whatever he wants to do. So that never came out to the thing because it would have been his birthday present for his 16th birthday before he gets a car. That's my sort of limit. I still might build the thing, right? Don't get me wrong. But my son ain't going to be able to ride it round. Because I've got a Piaggio Fly frame to put it into. But yeah, some things look like, you know, lighting on the wall, people causing a lot of things. I've had a lot of distractions over the last couple of years. Where I've not been able to focus on myself or focus on anything else. But the idea for that one was a full circle, the crank and the cylinder top end up to £4,500 just for the crank and the cylinder. That's without the bearings, that. But I wanted to build the race bike, a road legal race bike where it was the engine, you would press the switch, the engine would be, the bike would be road legal, all hollow marked parts like exhaust, stuff like that. But the idea would be is make it a race replica bike. Would be the idea of it. And it would have some cool little features on there. So the idea would have been stage 6 pro performance brakes, front and rear, braided hoses, the brakes, rear brake disc conversion to a rear hook disc conversion to from a drum brake to a disc brake. Ported and thrown cases at the bottom done by somebody else, or little bits done by myself maybe. A performance exhaust. But basically the idea would have been that he presses the switch on the handlebar, that would be a sport replica of a race bike. Presses the switch on the handlebar and the dials turn red, right, to let you know you're now in sport mode. All safety features are now disengaged, which means your lights turn on. You can't use your lights. All power goes straight to the flywheel magneto, straight down your capacitor with a high programmable capacitor, which then tunes it to the maximum revs that you need. Now, it'll only rev high and sound really while it's got all the standard stuff on. But within that, there's a baffle on an exhaust, which is a restrictor. Leave the restrictor in, make that removable without having to take the exhaust off. By leaving it, I know how I'd do it, but I literally just been doing 2 little springs. So I do it with 2 little springs. The carburettor wouldn't be set up at all. You'd have to just swap the carburettor out. And for the variators, clutch, you would only have to swap out. It'd have like you'd be able to do it with like it would have a self-locking variator plate on it. So you'd get a locking variator plate and a clutch redder. The clutch and the variator would already be set up to the bike. All he would literally have to do is bolt the variator in, bolt the transmission kit in, the overrange gear kit, if it needed one, but it's only a 50cc sports cylinder. I wasn't going to try and change it because I wanted to keep the bike road legal. So I bought a sports symbol which had a little bit more sporting basically. But we probably got about an extra 10, 15 mile per hour out of the bike. So the bike probably does, the engine, if you had your zip engine just be restricted without a 70 kit on it or with a standard kit, you'll at least do 50 because of its small wheelbase. You can at least easily do 50 with the right set of rollers. But with the performance exhaust that you can remove, you can probably get about 65. But I didn't want to build a wheelie machine, so like, you know, he gets on it, revs it the first time and he starts wheeling down the road. I'd have to settle the clutch springs up properly so that it gets like a nice easy pull on, a good power delivery. Restrict the engine with the torque washer to make sure it stays on the power band. Because how many times I revved the engine up on my NRG, it went straight to 10,000, 10,500, 11,000 RPM, but then it would drop back and settle at 8.5, and then it would build no power. And then remove all the oil pump and stuff like that, turn it into 2-stroke 3 wheels. The only problem is the engine is an air-cooled engine, and I have an air-cooled bike, so I've started to build a race bike with the wrong cooling system, even to begin with. There's only air-cooled, it won't be thinner. By the time you put all these parts on it, you'll shred the rings in less than, shred the rings in less than if you're driving flat out racing. Doing something like this to a track, you would literally shred your rings. And then there's obviously screwing a temperature sensor in, and then there's a lambda sensor for the air and fuel mixture. Then there's tuning the carb to sea level. Any changes you've made, you've got to take all of the freaking measurements. And then I've seen these Delta kits, these Malossi Delta kits, C16 race cases. I've seen that Stinger tail, and I've seen a drag racing bike. I should buy that and build them. Yeah, but then they added it all up, put all the parts in it that are required. It came up to like £5,000. I was like, computer says no, mate. Computer says no. It's a 16th birthday present. All I'm literally going to do is just tune the fuck out of this engine. And I had 2 years to build the engine, because I thought about it a couple of years ago, but I've had that many distractions, I've not been able to focus on it. But instead, what I've decided to do is get him his driver's license for his birthday, which I ain't going to be able to send up to him until after his birthday. It's a milestone birthday, and it's 16th birthday. Enter into young adulthood, and then his 18th, and then his 21st, and then his 40th. I mean, I don't see him that often, but I think about him all the time, to be fair. I really do. I think about him all the time. All of the time. He's not like my fountain of youth, but I'm sort of like trying to be his fountain of youth when growing up. But I've got him his provisional driver's license for his birthday. But yeah, the original cost of the bike to build the Zip engine, this is just the engine alone, came up to around £3,500, but over 2 years I'd have been able to do it. But because the drill went missing, I couldn't buy the drill. Obviously, I'm like, well, I need to drill this stud out, and I don't want to go and buy a new freaking drill. My brain would not allow me to go buy a new drill. I don't know why. I just wasn't allowed to buy a new drill. Really pissed me off. really, really, really pissed me off. Because I know I needed to get a helicoil kit from the local ironmonger. Go down to the local ironmonger, drill out the old kit, put the thread in, put the bolt in, de-restrict the exhaust, re-restrict the exhaust, so then the exhaust could be removed and the de-restrictions all taken out without taking anything off. As much as I could, basically. I mean, if I wanted to, if I really wanted to, I could find somebody who's good with wiring, or learn some wiring, but I'd probably end up getting confused. And the wiring would be, you press the second button and there's just a hydraulic actuator that just pulls the restrictor out of the carburetor. So you make something out of like a foldable copper foil that when it gets hot, it crimps up like a beer can's being stepped on, like a thin piece of foil, but it's strong enough for vacuum resistance, and then it will crimp up like a relay switch does. And it will crimp up, and then that will open the venturi to the carburetor and remove the restrictor. But there's still mechanical things you would have to do, such as the variator and the clutch. There'd be the two mechanical things you'd have to do. But it'd be legal. It would be perfectly legal. There's just a switch that you press to turn it into DEFCON 5. Cool toy though, isn't it? Perfectly road legal, perfectly safe. And to be honest with you, I don't even have to wire it in. I could just have the switch on just to light up the dashboard. And then once he's built his confidence up on the bike and he's riding round, all he has to do is literally take two butt connectors, connect them to the CDI bit, change the connectors to the CDI, and then switch it on. But I'd need somebody who's good with wiring, because you need a lot of switch lives that are all wires that are all dead, and then you need to switch them live to make it work, and then you still need constant buttons and shit to work. And yeah, but I'd have to buy a whole new loom for the bike. So the engine would have been around 3,500. The engine swap, the minute the Fly's got a 100cc engine in there, 4-stroke. I really wanted the 3-valve, because if I got the 3-valve, I know I'd get more power out of it. But that's just still sitting in the back garden now. And then there'd be like an MOT for the bike. Then there'd be the electrical system, because I've got to change everything of the electrical system. I've got to change the flywheel magneto. I've got to change the way that the clock's set up. I need to get a zip loom, or I need to modify the loom to make it all match and put my own connectors on. Ideally, what I should do is go buy all the correct wiring without right ampage, right volumes, all that kind of stuff. Make a pegboard, look at the original loom, copy the original loom, and make all my own connections. And make my own loom that's going to make it work. If I could understand how to build a wiring loom. I'm sure it's not difficult once you know how, but I don't know how. So I play on racing games instead. And to be fair, if you're learning how to build a wiring loom, it would stand you in good stead for when electric vehicles take over. I mean, electric motorcycles are getting more and more common. I'm pretty sure they are in London because of the what do we call it, emissions thing, that ULEZ thing, emission zone. But then again, are they subject to it? Oh, and then because it was a 2-stroke engine, I was sitting there thinking, oh, but what about if some of these companies, because I was thinking on a Karl Marx kind of level, like a corporate kind of level, like the idea was to build the bike and then sell the bike back to Piaggio. Sell the idea and the concept back to them, so then when they release a new motorcycle or a small motorcycle to introduce people to motorcycling or driving or anything like that, like every 16-year-old probably gets, it's a, not every 16-year-old obviously, because some parents are like, no, you can wait till you're 17 till you get a car, do your driving licence, I ain't having you on a motorcycle. But it's all a part of growing up, like mods and rockers and having like a scene to be around and a social circle. It's a different thing. It's better than sitting at home playing on your PlayStation like I'm doing at 16, 17, I'll tell you that. But yeah, and then obviously the idea would be to sell it straight back to them. So I was thinking, what about if all these people tried to stop me? So I was like, right, okay, so I'm going to get a catalytic converter from a scrapyard off an old exhaust. I'm going to buy a brand new exhaust, take the catalytic converter off it, weld the exhaust back up or fit the exhaust back together, sell the exhaust, get as much money back as I can for a straight through pipe exhaust, keep the catalytic converter, take the minerals out the catalytic converter, take the exhaust down to somewhere like Mikabe's that builds their own exhausts, put in a catalytic converter but also build a jet engine type of exhaust, so you get a double power wave valve coming back, so you're not wasting any fuel of the fresh fuel from the two-stroke piston for when the piston's gone down to release the exhaust fumes and bringing the fresh fumes in instead of piston scavenging. So then balance it and then try and find a way to balance it. Now it could be just a fruitless effort, one, because I don't have the equipment, two, I can't really see what's going on in the inside until I see how much of bad fuel is burning off, because the fuel is mixed with oil. Put the catalytic converter material inside the exhaust that can soak it up. Also have the secondary air system, but with the secondary air system, the second idea would be to put that in literally just on the manifold of the exhaust, because that's where the fresh fuel would go. And then if there's any after detonation, after you've set your top dead center and you've set your timing, your detonation timing, take that secondary air system and take all that unburnt fuel, put it into a boost bottle instead of sending it down into the cylinder head, and compress it. And then when the bike really opens up and it needs to draw more fuel and more air, it comes straight back in. So it's like and then find a way to force air through that point. But the engine would probably blow up. By the time I've done what I'm doing to it, the engine would probably blow up. I know the idea is there somewhere to be able to maximize power out of the little engine, but to be able to know it inside and out, I mean, I really should have stayed at college. And got access to a higher education course and went on to doing motorsport engineering. But because it's all going electrical, learning to build a wiring loom inside, I don't know, say you get these naughty boys classes and you get a naughty boys class and they're fixing, like, you know, I don't know what it is, but you go to naughty boys classes and you know these outreach projects that pop up all and around the city. Like there was one in Braunston that where people that weren't never going to get good grades in school, not because they're stupid, it's because they're not academically motivated. Does that make sense? So basically they can build their own wiring loom and literally chuck them a bike that has no electrical system in it at all. They have to build their own electrical system, their own wiring loom. They don't have to build their own stator or magneto. That was just stupid. And then build everything else with it. But making the transition from petrol to electric would be a good I just think it would be a good start for these naughty boy classes, to be fair. Or even buy an electrical motorcycle that's pretty much brand new, and you donate it, and you don't donate it, you take them an electrical motorcycle that's pretty much brand new, and then you tear it down. You take all the voltages, you learn every single thing about it, and then you build it back up and put it back together. And then you've got a specification book for a Soka 3.5 kilowatt engine. Does that make sense? And then you learn how to do a conversion, or try and build a hybrid, like get an electrical hub front wheel. It would go straight to 30 mile an hour, but then after the hub finished, you've got to find a way to disengage the brushless motor, because you don't want to burn out any coil or generate any power. Actually, no, leave the hub on there. Let that coil generate power. send power back to the battery into the spark plug, and then make the bike go down the road. And then when it takes over, when the 30 mile per hour, 35 mile per hour is topped out on the electric motor petrol engine starts up, matches the RPM, the front electric motor dies, and then off you go. That's what I was trying to build about. That's what I was thinking about. Where was that? I wasn't very well. I had a bit more of a mental health breakdown a little bit when I was at work because of the 4 hours on, 4 hours off thing, and 4 days on, 4 hours off, and it was messing with my sleep cycles, my sleep patterns, and all those types of things for 12-hour shifts, and it's really unhealthy. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the money, I could do the work, but it just, because I already had these issues, it was more difficult for me. So when I was quitting, well, not quitting, but when I came off and I went onto the sick and I put my sick note into work, I was sitting there thinking, what do I do? I am absolutely bored. And that's when I started looking up all these things on my mobile phone, on the internet, and was daydreaming basically. Just sat there daydreaming about stuff. What I could do with my hands, what I could build, what I couldn't build, what I could achieve, what I couldn't achieve. But the idea would have been to build something I could sell back to the company. The same way, and I think what inspired that was Le Mans 66, Ford versus Ferrari, the film, where in the beginning of the film, the gaffer walks in, hits the emergency stop button and says, that's the sound of the Henry Ford Motor Company shutting down. I want you all to go walk home, and if you can't come back with an idea, then you might as well stay home. I was like, oh shit. And then I just sat there and was like, okay. And then ever since I've seen that film, it's been in my head. Like, because it's a true story though. It's based on a true story. I believe that probably did happen. But I don't think he said it to the factory floor workers. I think he said it to his marketing team and his investment team and this, that and the other. And then obviously they did the Le Mans 66 racing. But I suppose a simpler idea would have worked, like the styling of the vehicle. Could have sat at home, drawn the vehicle out, thought of aerodynamics, thought of whatever, but back then it was different. But that kind of stuff is what triggered my brain off to think, right, okay, so if somewhere's shutting down and you need an idea, I was always told no idea is a bad idea. Because you could have a really bad idea to begin with, and you cross it out and you go with a different idea, and then you come back to that book of ideas, you go, actually that idea that I crossed out, there might be something in that, and you look into it further and you explore it and you expand it, and the idea gets bigger and better, and then you start seeing how the idea could work, and then you never know. But yeah, but Henry Ford Ford had the money to be able to say, well, there's no budget. You know what I mean? It's like there's no budget. So I'm watching things like this where people are like saying, oh well, like they're doing car reviews and they're going, yeah, it feels like a Tic Tac box. This plastic feels like a Tic Tac box. I'm not sure I would buy it. Right? I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, that's just fucking great. So everything I've ever took an approach at has no budget. Has no budget. If you're trying to develop something that's going to be like the best thing since sliced bread, corner the market, take over the globe, you have to think with no budget. Don't do that, because that will fuck everything up. And shit you not, it will just ruin everything. But I didn't realise at the time that they were just sort of like cheap shots at companies they didn't really like the car Noble and stuff like that, you know what I mean? They started off in a shed and took Ford engines and Ford parts and just bolted it together, put as much power in as they could. Sweet and simple shed car, and started selling them for 100s of thousands of pounds. but they didn't really take off. You don't see them like, come buy our Noble engine for the latest touring car champion, for the latest TTC. You don't see that, do you? Don't see them kind of things happening. It's kind of like just to me, like a Noble. I see a Noble as a nice little concept car. That's a sports car, but for the amount of money that you have to spend on the sports car, you might as well buy a Honda NSX like this one. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Nice chatting, nice talking about engines and cars and stupid stuff and exploration with engines. Anybody else that's gone on the same kind of thing, it's a learning curve. It's a nice learning experience. Port mapping, that was a bit different. But yeah, YouTube was okay to learn from at times with certain people and stuff like that. I remember the first time I was trying to take an engine to bits, and it was a Peugeot Speedfight engine that I killed. And I contacted someone on YouTube, which is like, shout out to Mark Savage. I know he's not very well, but he works on them all the time. And when he takes all these bikes in, he just does like little lights and stuff like that. I know he's not very well, but hopefully he's okay and getting better. But yeah, the first video I watched was a carburetor cleaner, and I wanted to know how to strip an engine and put an engine in half, because when I was trying to strip the engine down the first time, I literally just took the cylinder head off, took the variator and the clutch off, the flywheel, the variator, undone all the bolts. Next thing you know, I'm getting a pry bar and a massive screwdriver in between the crankcase seals and whacking it with a freaking hammer, destroying everything. Then the oil pump came out. I was like, well, I don't know anything about the oil pump. Where's the oil pump gone? And in the end, I had to bin the engine. But it was a learning curve. But I can probably build a 2-stroke engine now with my eyes closed. 4 strokes I can do the same, but I'm a little bit apprehensible about those, because once you change something, like, it's the valve timing that's the worst part. Because after because they get worn out, you know you're not dealing with a brand new part. You literally have to fettle around with the engine, like change it by 0.005 of a millimeter to get it perfectly, and make sure it seats and stuff like that. So the idea for me is drill out the old valve seats, put brand new valve seats in there, brand new valves, brand new everything, seat them nice, make it sure it's all nice and tight, new coil, new springs, new everything, and then have a complete new camshaft system, like, you know, like the lobes and stuff like that, or aggressive profile of the cams, and then thingy. But because I don't have access to these kind of machinery nor the knowledge, it's still very well having access to the machinery, but without the knowledge of learning these things from an autosport engineering perception, then there'd be literally no point in even walking up to that piece of machinery and trying to cut a more aggressive cam lobe, because it'd just be a waste of time, because I'd be doing it by trial and error, and by the time you get to the part that you need, you've lost time on what you should be learning about sprockets. Do you know what I mean? Now you can sort of gear ratio out between a sprocket on the crankshaft and a sprocket on the top end, and you could literally just cut a sprocket, go down to a CNC milling machine, telling you want this sprocket made with these diameters to fit this chain, get the measurements for the teeth and stuff like that for the chain, and then change whatever you want, how many teeth you're going to need. That's not difficult, but by the time you've done the camshaft lobe, you've got to go back to that, and then by that time you realise that the amount of money you've spent on trial and error, you could have gone to somebody else and gone, can I have this done, please? And you could have just sat on your money and saved money and then got it done anyway, if that's something that you really wanted. But yeah, And a 4-stroke engine ain't that difficult. And then once you look at a 4-stroke engine on a single cylinder engine, and then a car engine, it doesn't even become that difficult to understand. But to understand the car engine fully, and I mean like fully, ECU, freaking injectors, programs, all these kind of things, you need to know them. You need to be educated properly. I don't think that you can just go in and be self-taught and then teach yourself how to fix a car. Yes, you can teach how to fix a car, but you will teach yourself how to fix a car badly, and that car will be coming back, and that car will be coming back again and again and again and again, and then that customer will be on your back, on your back, on your back, till you get to the point where you've fixed this guy's car so many fucking times, the guy just goes out and buys a new car. Or you go, don't come to my garage anymore, mate, you're doing my head in. And you took as much money as you can out of them. Well, the garage mechanic's had as much money as he can out of you, and then he's moved you on. It just gets annoying. Sometimes you're just better off. Sometimes you are better off getting a dealership warranty or extending a warranty for your car. Sometimes, because eventually they will fix the problem, and the problem will be fixed forever. Do you know what I mean? Providing you look after it and you maintain the car. But you can self-fix a car or a bike, but you will learn how to fix the bike badly without proper education, because you do need to know a skill set of mathematics. You do need to know a skill set of electrical voltage. You do need to know a skill set of English to be able to read a set of instructions, because each car manufacturer is the same. I mean, when you think on a Karl Marx level, if you was designing a car and it had all your secrets in there, you wouldn't want nobody else to fix your car but yourself. And all these people are trying to find out them intellectual properties, all those patented little secrets and designs and ideas, which when they patent their items anyway, they're going to put them with the wrong answers in. Like, you ever seen Armageddon? I mean, this is probably something that never crossed your mind. Let me guess, you've been drilling in, you've been blowing out you've been blowing out drill heads and motors all day. It's like, yeah. It's like, what did you do? Like, basically go into the patent office and steal my design? Said, yeah, basically. And then what happens? He says, that's because you got the transmission all wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because he knows the secret to his transmission, because it was in his head. It isn't on the paperwork. That's the reason why they could never properly replicate it, and the reason why it wouldn't work. So you put those two things together, you can say it's a conspiracy, but it's also not a lie. You put those two things together, these people are trying to find the secrets to the car. You're never going to find the secrets of the car unless you literally buy one of their cars, tear it down, component by component, down to every last nut, bolt and washer, have at least God knows how many square feet of room to lay the car out flat on the floor, to then go through everything, every resistor, every transistor, every bit of gearing, every single bit of exhaust measurement, voltage measurement, regulator, ECU, type of programming chip, type of this, type of that. Then you have to go and do your research, find out their common problems, their common issues, and this, that and the other. You'll never do it, which is the reason why, you know, you just get your car fixed and it gets fixed to a certain point and you have to take it back and it has to be fixed again. I mean, a head gasket's a bit different. You know, a head gasket is a head gasket. But even then, do the company really, really give you the correct torque specs? Like, does a Haynes manual actually have the correct torque specs?
Are you playing the game or just chatting shit?
Chatting rubbish for the next 10 minutes while I'm having a cigarette, and we're just talking, like, I'm just talking about, like, self-taught and the things that I've experienced whilst trying to build engines and bikes and stuff like that. Because I'm pretty sure that some people that have watched this stuff have their experiences as well. I know. Right, anyway, I'll see you all later. I'm being moaned at. Wicked Witch of the East is here. Alright, see you later. I'm kidding. Chill out.